Next, the diet is still going to be an important part. Okay, eat real food. We've talked about that plenty. None of the processed food. Okay. Vegetables. I'll tell you the 3 big things now. Well, the 4 big things. I was going to do this at the end. I'm going to summarize some things at the end. And actually, in the summary, I was going to point out some things that aren't part of the lecture because I've really been putting a lot of thought and research into this, what I think it may be one of the most important topics in the world today. And that is this whole thing of weight, obesity. No, we're going to do it later. Vegetables and legumes. It'll summarize. Okay. After putting all this together, and I'll probably do this again at the end because, you know, you do all this, and there's no way that any of us are going to do everything that we're going to talk about, unless you're already doing almost all of it except 1 or 2 things. What we want to do is leave today with some action, something that you're going to do today that's different. 1 or 2 things that are different than what you're doing now that will affect your weight and make you healthier. And so at the end of all this, I'm thinking, what would be the 3 best things? And so these are the 4 best things. I put 3 here, and we just can't leave out this burst that I've just talked about. Number 1, out with the sugar, pop, processed food, and in with the vegetables. If you're not doing lots of vegetables, what do vegetables do? They bring in more of the nutrients, more of the fiber than anything else. And if we fill ourselves with vegetables, are we going to be eating all the garbage? No, because we filled ourselves with vegetables. Half our plate should be vegetables. The greatest thing that would ever happen is if we divided up the plate, and I'm still trying to create my power platter. But it's going to be this plate divided into 4 pieces. And one of us right down the middle, and half the plate is going to be vegetables. And then there's going to be a little bit of protein. And whether you include legumes as your protein or legumes as your vegetable, doesn't matter to me. But a little tiny piece of protein, not the big 16-ounce whatever. Little piece of protein. Eggs are great. So it's going to have vegetables, protein, healthy fats, and healthy fats are being ignored. So what happens with fats? When we take fats into our stomach, cholecystokinin is released. Cholecystokinin is a hormone in the stomach that is released and goes to the satiety center and says, I'm full. 2 things that fat does. It tells us we're full sooner, and second, it slows down digestion. Fat stays in the stomach longer. It slows down the whole digestive and the breakdown process. So what happens if things are slowed down? We get full faster, and we don't have the rises in the glucose, in the sugar, with any of the carbohydrates that we're taking in. Proteins, healthy fats, and some kind of maybe a whole grain or a carbohydrate. And probably a third of each of those on the platter. And that's how it's probably going to come out. But we need the fats. An avocado is a great fat. Coconut oil is a great fat. So we start incorporating fats and fat into our salads instead of processed food ranch dressing, for instance. Look at the ingredients on some of those dressings as opposed to putting olive oil or even omega-6, omega-3 oils, flaxseed oil on a salad. Meat sparingly, whole grains. There is nothing in these processed grains except carbohydrates. There's no fiber. The nutrients are in the brown part. Brown rice. Fiber we need. We didn't get to the list, did we? We got distracted. No processed food, and read the labels. Okay? Vitamins, I don't think we can get the nutrients we need from even the best of food. So we need to be on a good multiple vitamin. We need to have our essential fatty acids. And if we live in Cleveland, live past, the mid-United States, we all should be on vitamin D. This has never been added to my list before, but vitamin D is critical for all of us. How to eat. We need to eat when we're hungry, and only when we're hungry. We need to stop eating when we're not hungry. There is a place that we have a satiety center in the hypothalamus in our brain, the hunger center. When the body tells that hunger center we're hungry, if we're reasonably healthy and that satiety center is working, we will know when our body needs nutrients. And it will tell the hypothalamus that it's hungry, and then we will start searching for food. When we're hungry, there is a point as we're eating when we're no longer hungry. Now, unfortunately, for most of us, the time that the body says we're hungry is several minutes, 5, 10, 15, even 20 minutes after the body doesn't need any more. But even if we could listen to the body and stop here, unfortunately what we're doing is we keep eating until we have that full sensation. We need to stop eating when we are not hungry, when we're satisfied. And if we've added the oils in there, we will be satisfied until the next meal. If we don't have oils in there, we're going to be hungry between 2 and 3 hours later. Isn't that when you're typically hungry? We don't have enough oils because what's the present philosophy? Fats are bad. Less fats are good. Doesn't work. That's why we keep eating more carbs. Because we're hungry all the time. 2 hours later, you have that Chinese meal. I don't know if you do the same. I have that huge meal. You go to all you can eat, the Chinese place. And I'm thinking, boy, I paid for the meal. I got to get my money's worth out of this. So I keep going back. And 2, 3 hours later, I'm starving. Very little fat, a lot of carbohydrates, and that's driving us to eat more and more carbs. The fat is going to slow that down. Now, we don't want to overdo it. And we definitely don't want to overdo it with saturated fats and no trans fats like we've already talked about. No hydrogenated oils. All that processed food is out. So, chew food till it's a liquid. The more we chew, the better the digestion is going to be, the less inflammation that's going to take place. If all of our food is absorbed, there's no food arriving at the colon, or very little food for the bacteria in there and the yeast to have a party. That's where a lot of the inflammation is going to take place, and where a lot of the gas is going to be formed is in the large intestine, by providing the food for the party. We want to have all that digested. We've got to be chewing our food. Chew till it's liquid, savor each bite, enjoy it, relax, be cheerful when eating. That means you cannot think about the healthcare bill, or the economics, or the politics, or wonderful things about life. Gratitude, focus on eating. No TV, no reading, no business meetings. We never have any business meetings or lectures while we eat, do we? And why should we focus on eating? So we can stop eating when we're satisfied. Otherwise, we're going to eat right through everything. Have you seen how many chips and salsa is consumed during a game? When the guys get together? How many carbs are eaten with that beer, and then they throw in chips and salsa? And the game's not over 2 hours later. They start all over again, right? So they've digested it all. It's time to start over again. Don't have that. Okay, how to eat.